Hello everybody and welcome. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Segundo Volante and anchor role combination in Football Manager. And let's get started by talking about how they work together. The anchor and Segundo Volante are a defensive midfield pair that can be used with back 3 and back 4 formations. While defending, the two of them work together to protect your backline by closing down opponents, intercepting passes, and making key tackles. Their commitment to defending and proximity to each other means they can quickly win the ball back if you lose possession. They will both put in a defensive shift, which means you're going to have two defensive midfielders dedicated to helping the team. The anchor is more protective, making sure a bad problem doesn't get worse, where the Segundo Volante will be more aggressive, trying to stop the problem immediately. In this clip, our winger has taken it wide. When he regains possession, he makes a pass that is intercepted. As the opponent starts their counter, here's the anchor and the Segundo Volante. The anchor will head to the midfield, trying to stop the counter from getting worse. But the Segundo Volante will go straight to the ball. Just between the two of them, they stop the counter. The idea of this opposite approach is even more exaggerated in the attacking phase. The anchor and Segundo Volante are both in the defensive midfield. But as the ball progresses into the final third, the anchor is providing an outlet and the Segundo Volante is getting on the end of a pass. But even though they have different approaches in the attacking phase, they can still work together. We have possession and are working the ball into the box. My anchor is here, providing an outlet, and the Segundo Volante is here in the penalty box. The anchor gets the ball and passes it to the Segundo Volante for the goal. There's a lot of great role combinations in Football Manager, but I don't know if there are two better suited for each other than the anchor and Segundo Volante. In the next section, we'll talk about how they work in a tactic. The anchor and Segundo Volante are the perfect starting point for building your tactic. Just by using these two, you're going to have a player providing cover and a player providing an attacking threat. For today's tactic, we're using the same team from the False 9 video, Santa Clara in the 2nd Division of Portugal. It uses an anchor and a Segundo Volante on attack. The wingers will provide our width and get in crosses, the False 9 will drop into the midfield, and the poacher will pressure the backline. Whenever using an attacking formation like mine is, it's important you choose defensive midfield roles carefully. Pardon the turn of phrase, but they will be the anchor of your defense and essential in stopping the opponent, which is why these two are perfect. In this clip, we are in red and my center back is getting the ball. My center back makes a pass and I'm pausing it here because it's about to be intercepted. The anchor is here and he's going to try and curtail the counter, but I want you to focus on the Segundo Volante and how he tracks back. We saw it in the first section too, but this is why they work so well together when defending. The anchor is in charge of limiting the damage, trying not to let the opponent go any farther, so he won't be super aggressive in closing down the ball. The Segundo Volante will be aggressive in closing down the ball, but since he's usually further up the field, it's going to take him a second to track back. In attack, the anchor's disciplined approach means he won't go too far from his defensive midfield position. This gives more freedom to a role like the Segundo Volante, who wants to play near the penalty box. And to see how it plays out in a match, let's do a highlight breakdown. A quick note about this clip is that we are in blue, attacking to our right. Here's the anchor and this is the Segundo Volante. The False 9 is bringing the ball up. When I pause it here, he's about to attempt a pass to the winger, but it's gonna get deflected and we almost lose possession. Watch the anchor and the Segundo Volante and even the fullback and how their first instinct is to get back. But we don't lose possession and the winger gets the ball in the penalty box. He's going to pass to the other winger, who moves inside since the ball is out wide on his opposite side. This movement drags this defender with him. The Segundo Volante takes advantage of the open space. As we look at the highlight again in full speed, watch the anchor and the Segundo Volante and how they still have protection in the back of their mind even though we're attacking. For the last section, I want to talk about player traits and player instructions and how you can use them to get the best out of your player and customize your team. The first player we're going to look at is our primary Segundo Volante, Mateus. He has good mentals and his marking, tackling, and work rate are standout attributes for this role. But I want to focus on his player trait, gets forward whenever possible. This trait is for off-the-ball movement, and it means the player will be more likely to make forward runs. So he'll get into more advanced positions when you're attacking. And though I was talking about the player trait for gets forward whenever possible, that could easily describe the Segundo Volante. And sure enough, if we go to the Segundo Volante on attack, it has a locked player instruction, get further forward. There's a synergy between the player trait and his player role. We have a player that likes to get further forward, and he's playing in a role that is telling him to get further forward. This synergy can really take your player to the next level. For the entire league, Mateus is not only 11th in average rating so far this season at 7.11, but he's the only player in the top 15 who's a defensive midfielder. You will have better success with your players if you try and match their player traits with their player roles. Mateus is a fantastic Segundo Volante, but he would be a terrible anchor because he wants to get further forward, and we've seen how important it is that the anchor holds their position. So keep an eye on your player's traits and the roles you have him in. And speaking of the anchor, this is our primary one, Adriano. He's a great all-around player, and specifically his positioning and his teamwork. He has the player trait, tries long-range passes. This player trait means he's going to try more direct passes, and it's useful for players in deeper positions. But what do you do when you want to use a role in your tactic, like I want to use an anchor in mine, but you still want to take advantage of a player trait? Well, that's where player instructions come in. If we look at the anchor role, it doesn't really take advantage of that player trait. But if we go to the tactics screen, click on the anchor, we get this submenu. If you click it over to personalized, this means that any changes I make will only apply to Adriano in this position. Once we're in the player instruction tab, we tick passing directness to more direct passing. Now we get to keep the role in the tactic, and whenever Adriano plays, we have an anchor who will be more likely to try long-range passes because of his player trait. This adds another dynamic to our attack. If you couldn't tell, the anchor and Segundo Volante are just the best when using them in your tactic. I'd love to know how they're getting along in your save. But anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.